Hello everybody, Drew here for DrewDat Games here. Welcome to the 28th episode of the DrewDat Games podcast, or the DDG podcast, if you will. Joining me, as usual, is my younger brother, Desert Nord, on the phone from Arizona.
Hey there.
And not here is Gucci, because he's doing Christmas baskets for a local charity right now. So, yeah. He texted me and called me last night while I was trying to sleep before work. I'm like, God damn it, just leave me alone, dude. But I answered anyway. He's like, what's up? And he informed me of him not being on the show for for what we're talking about, and it's solely about the Game Awards that happened Thursday of last week. But you guys will be seeing this Thursday after the Game Awards, so that being tomorrow now, because we're filming this on Wednesday as usual. So with that said, the Video Game Awards 2020, I think, should be renamed the Woke Awards 2020. Do you agree or disagree, Desert Nord?
Yeah, a lot of what we feared would happen appears to have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of the typical winners, a lot of the announced winners we would expect from a award show that was essentially tone deaf to the fans is basically how it ended up anyway.
And after we go over everything, I will have a few things to add about what mainstream activists, because that's what I'm calling them now, because I'm not damn sure never going to call them a journalist anymore after all this. But
sure.
They've released a few articles that I do want to talk about here after we go through all of this, because that's all worth mentioning, and show how much of a joke they fucking are at this point. But I'm going to start off with what I saw first. And now, granted, I didn't write everything down. I wrote down everything that mattered, mattered for the event, as far as I'm concerned. Like every award and any game announcement that I thought was worth talking about. Did you write anything down from it?
I just wrote a kind of a summary of how I felt about the award show in general.
Okay, so
not really a too detailed list or anything like that.
Well, I got like 2.5 pages of shit, because this is 5 hours that I'm not gonna have back of my life after watching all this. And I would have been playing Cyberpunk, but at that point I hadn't bought the digital version yet, and I was still waiting for my physical copy at that point. So what the fuck was I gonna do? So this was what I did. I sat through all of this for you guys. So with that said, the first thing that I saw on there was they announced the best family game, and that went to Animal Crossing, which is no surprise.
Yeah, not a surprise at all, really.
Yeah.
That's the only family game worth talking about this year. So.
And then, they didn't do it here, but I wrote it down because it was already announced online, and they went on to it like halfway through the show. But I'm going to mention it here that Gamer's Choice was won by Ghost of Tsushima online, and they announced it online, and they announced it later in the show. But I wrote it down here because I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ghost of Tsushima won our choice for Game of the Year, as voted on only by us, which is no surprise.
Yep.
After that was Best Performance, which was presented by Miss Woke herself, Captain Marvel. What the fuck's her name? Brie Larson. Yeah.
Brie.
And given to Lauren Bailey, who plays Abby in Last of Us Part 2. That's the only reason that she was there, was to give one of the actresses that played a character in The Last of Us Part 2 the fucking award.
Yeah, it's like the most predictable thing imaginable.
Yeah.
And typical.
Now, I was hoping that later on the show, Keanu Reeves does present something, and I thought that they were going to do something different with that award, because they had Keanu, i.e. Johnny Silverhand, doing it, but I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
After that, actually, I didn't write this down, but it is worth mentioning that before a couple of those awards, they did kick it off with actually introducing a new character to Super Smash Brothers, which I do want to mention because Miss Click lost her fucking mind when I was watching her thing back.
Yep.
It's what's his name? The big bad guy from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah.
All right. Doesn't mean anything to me, and I'm a Smash Brothers fan, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's definitely a nothing to me also. So.
To some people, it is like Miss Click, and I'm glad that some people have that reaction to it. I'm completely numb to it, so. However, I wanted to bring that up because this next thing, we all knew it was fucking coming. Let's be honest with you. Anyone with half a brain that's a gamer that follows any of this knew that this announcement was coming. We didn't know when or where, but we knew it was coming. And the announcement being from Xbox and the Initiative, they are in fact rebooting Perfect Dark.
Yep.
We already figured this was the case. Now, granted, we didn't know what the Initiative was doing, but we knew Microsoft was clearly planning on Perfect Dark getting some kind of game by somebody under their umbrella, and it's their newest studio that they created. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
another
say.
one where I don't think they're gonna top what's already been done, but we'll see.
Yeah, but before I move on, I just noticed that I'm indeed wearing my Xbox hat, and I just noticed from the light from my computer screen and my monitor screen that it looks like it's glowing, like my hat is on.
Yeah.
I just noticed that. Well, at least I know that that's going to be a thing in future videos. Uh, so with that said, I have to say, Drew That Game's on.
Yeah.
Instead of Xbox on, like it was in 2013. But moving on from Perfect Dark, the next trailer was Back for Blood, which is from people that brought to you Left 4 Dead.
Yep.
All right.
Which is a great series and a great, Left 4 Dead was a great thing.
But from the trailer, I get the feeling that this is like just a 4-player co-op, like online kill zombies thing at this point.
Sure, like almost like a facsimile of their previous work.
And after that, Scavengers got a new trailer. All right.
Yeah.
Nothing to say there, right?
Yeah, nothing much.
And then we also saw more Hood, Outlaws and Legends in a trailer.
Yep.
Okay, great, whatever. Cyber.
Yeah, that's not exciting to me either. So.
Well, when I saw this, I'm like, well, this is fairly interesting, but not near enough to get overly excited about. A new car for DLC for Forza Horizon 4. It's the car from Cyberpunk, from the trailers.
Yep.
So that's a thing, and
which is cool, but
that means that there's a crossover deal with CD Projekt Red and Xbox, which ought to not surprise me that on console it's running better on Xbox than on the other platforms.
Yeah, no shocker
there. Yeah, so
it's almost like they actually collaborated.
Yeah, to try to get it running better on their system over PlayStation. Because it seems that I'm going to get more into this when we actually film right after this. That being the next episode of Is It Worth It, in which Desert Nord will be on that episode with me talking about what else Cyberpunk 2077 is episode 5, which we will, like I said, start filming right after this. And so we'll
try to stay off of that topic as much as we can.
Yeah. But still, the fact that I brought it up here is because I had to, because the car is in Forza Horizon 4 now.
Sure, yeah.
Then it went into Best Ongoing Game. I think it should have gone to No Man's Sky, which it did, so...
Yeah, that was absolutely a high point of the awards. That's exactly the game that should have won that.
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
I agree, because if you look at where No Man's Sky came from, everyone hated it. Like, what? Well, compared to a game that we're going to talk about in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a familiar element there, and it's that the game at that release was a lot more underwhelming than it should have been, and has only gotten better with time.
And tons of promises were made about No Man's Sky, and
Yeah.
Hello Games didn't follow through until a while later. To the point where it's at now, it competes with the best of games that are out there right now.
Yep. And it does have the widest open. It is the widest open game, probably of all.
And I have a physical copy here somewhere for Xbox. Where the fuck is it? It's got to be in the installed pile, because I'm supposed to have it installed.
No Man's Sky is essentially like the benchmark for wide open games.
Here's my physical copy of No Man's Sky to prove it to you guys. I do have it, and I do intend to go back to it, but I took a break when I was having trouble trying to find my fucking ship on whatever planet I'm fucking stranded on to start the game. Because there's no fucking minimap in the damn game. You have to guess. And it's frustrating, but it's also fun, too. Just running all over God's creation, trying not to die.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that I'm not sure about, the next game that was announced was Castillo Protocol, coming in 2022, which apparently is like a sci-fi horror-like game. And
sure, I wasn't able to make heads or tails of that one. I can't tell you anything.
And from what I think was said by the developer, apparently their intention is to make this one of the scariest games, if not the scariest game that you've ever seen.
Sure.
Okay,
sure, but
whatever.
Some of us are completely numb to that type of thing.
Yeah. I wish that I had uploaded from Twitch at the time of me attempting to play Dead Space 2. Because I remember watching that stream back and going, yeah, I really was bored playing this.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So,
I mean, whenever I hear a game is supposed to be a horror title or scary, I always think, yeah, maybe scary to the, like, female streamers on Twitch, but not to guys like me.
And to any soy boy that plays games.
Yeah.
But, and in talking about scary shit, it all takes me back to when you and I were at the theater with friends watching, like, the first Grudge movie, eating our popcorn and nachos. Everyone behind us was scared out of their mind, and they saw us just eating away, going,
sure,
this sucks.
It's just basic psychology. If you want to scare a man, you got to do something different as far as scares than if you want to scare a female. I mean, it's just biology.
But if I recall, we were there with guy and girlfriends, and all of them, I heard all of them scared and wincing in the back. My brother and I were just eating our popcorn and nachos. Even with the girl without a jaw with her tongue dangling, I'm pretty sure I looked at you at one point and I'm like, this is scary, right?
Guys are more scared by, like, lethal action and shit like that, as opposed to, you know, jump scares and horror beasts and stuff. That's not scary to guys.
No, to me, a jump scare would be a pallet falling at work that I'm standing near where it's landing. That's a fucking jump scare.
Well, sure. But I'm talking about in a video game, like, the type of thing that would actually make a guy, like, really terrified is, like, realism.
Yeah.
You know, put a guy in a simulator game where the realism of, like, death is, the real possibility of death in the game is right there, you know?
Yeah.
Not just, you know, scary beast, you know, or jump scare or ugly creature or something like that. Guys don't get scared by that shit.
Yeah. So, anyway, to move on to the next thing was the best art direction, and I'm surprised that they gave it to this game, given their love of a certain game that we will be talking about a lot later on. They gave it to Ghost of Tsushima. Which
And
which
this is also a decent decision.
Which the right game won it, first of
Yeah.
all, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I thought they were going to give it to The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, it was a real nerve-wracking situation there.
But the whole event was like that, though.
Yeah, sure, and we all know how it all turned out. But you know, to have it, you expected The Last of Us Part 2 to win, and to have Ghost of Tsushima win is actually really, really relieving. You know, almost cathartic.
And then speaking of games that are not Last of Us Part 2, Best Action went to Hades.
Yep. Which I also agree with that one.
I haven't played it, but I'm going to agree with it just the same.
Yeah.
Best VR went to Half-Life Alyx, which was to be expected.
Yep. Sure, it's really like almost a custom category for that one.
Yeah, and I will say this, that this whole award show did prompt me to start setting up something for our own award show here, which I did announce at the end of the Cyberpunk unboxing video, which I will do a separate video talking about the Game of the Year nominees for you guys to vote for, and you guys alone. And all you'll have to do is just comment your vote by the name of the game in the comments of that particular video. And whatever game gets mentioned the most will be the Game of the Year chosen by you, the viewers of the videos on the channel, regardless if you're subscribed to the channel or not. Every other award and I will cover all the categories when I make that video announcing the Game of the Year for our channel, nominees and whatnot. And I will go over all of the categories, but the rest of the categories are being chosen by myself, Desert Nord, and Gucci whenever he's around to talk about this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Which I still have to talk to him about one category, which is chosen by him. But still. So, with that said, we're on to Best Sports Game, and the right game won here, as far as I'm concerned, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Sure, it was a really narrow category this year because of so much failure in that realm.
Yeah.
The only game that would even be, in the running besides that one would be MLB The Show 20.
Yeah, which is a game that, well, in fact, those two games have been in consideration by us for the Drew Dat Games Sports Game of the Year as well.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Madden 21 was a disaster, which by all rights should have had a chance, but it really didn't deserve to even be discussed in the running.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a disaster. And a real shame, too. But yeah, the Tony Hawk's game, way better than just about every other sports game this year, even though it's not new, per se.
So, yeah, in a year where everyone has to stay home and play games, the only thing that could win Best Sports is a game that is a remake of Game Boy Color, as well as, a PlayStation 2 games?
Oh, yeah, several times ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. We'll go with 15 years.
Yeah, a 15-year-old game getting remade when Best Sports Game during a pandemic. Go figure. Speaking of interesting topics, they had a category for Most Anticipated Game. This is really splitting hairs for a topic, I feel.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's really just complete speculation, too, by the way.
Yeah, because I have questions of how they decided this. Did they ask the activists or the gamers? Or both?
I mean, it's so variant. I mean, you kind of have to just basically try and gauge which upcoming title has the biggest fan base.
Because in my opinion, the most anticipated game coming up that's currently not out now, after release of Cyberpunk 2077, off the top of my head, the only thing that I could think of that I would be interested in getting my hands on at the moment is either Halo Infinite at this point, or Far Cry 6 right now. And that's without looking into anything right now.
Yeah, sure. Those are the big two that come to mind if you ask me also.
But what got it was Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to be excited for that, but I'm not sure how.
I don't think I've ever even seen a trailer.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the fuck Elden Ring is. Is it a Lord of the Rings game? Is it a Game of Thrones game? What the fuck is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of games that I have a bad feeling about, a trailer for Dragon Age 4 popped up next.
Yeah, this one actually made people laugh because they're like, this series has already run its course. So,
And the trailer did nothing.
yeah.
All it did was basically, I felt like I was watching a trailer for DLC for Inquisition.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, it's nothing new. It's like, if you happen to, well, I don't know if I know anybody who's still fans of the series, after the recent, the way it went with the series was basically like the original game, the original sequel was great, but then, like, it went completely off the rails.
The first one was epically awesome. The second one was as far from that as you could get without killing off the franchise.
Yeah.
Inquisition came back quite a bit from number 2, but didn't reach the level of what's the word that I'm looking for in comparing?
Excitement, yeah. Anticipation's probably pretty low for Dragon Age fans.
The level of goodwill and loyalty, maybe, that Origins had.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could feel to put that.
Even among the fans of the series, there's nobody anticipating that game.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, okay, another one? Yeah, okay, whatever.
And after the Dragon Age 4 trailer, or whatever the game's going to be called, we go into Best Narrative, and this is where the shit started hitting the fan heavy. They gave it to Last of Us Part 2. The worst narrative of the year. But they gave the best narrative to it.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine being that far out of touch and that tone deaf to the fan base.
And I'll have more to add on that after we get through everything else based on the article
even people
from...
who initially thought they liked the game turned completely away from it.
And I'll get into that later, but yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 won, and then Games for Impact, the name of this game had me asking the name of this game as a question to why is Jeff Keighley's Game Awards matter? But in the manner of the name of the game is Tell Me Why. So, and that won Best Games for Impact, but at this point, as soon as I wrote it down, I'm like, tell me why this award show fucking matters anymore after this.
Yeah.
Tell me why it mattered in the first place, actually, now that I think of it.
Well, it's a self-congratulation situation once again.
Which is why, starting in January, when we actually do our own in video format, much like what you're seeing and hearing in our version of a podcast right now, it's going to be the same exact format with Desert Nord on the phone. But when we do the Drew That Game Awards for 2020, we're going to acknowledge games that deserve shit. And like I said before, we aren't choosing...
actually games that are actually liked by actual gamers instead of just activist journalists and hacks and streamers that normally do makeup videos, but they decided to do gaming instead that week.
But it's based on the shit that I've played, though.
Yeah.
Not shit that I've watched.
I'm criticizing activist types.
Yeah. But with that said, speaking of good things, finally again, Fall Guys Season 3 starts December 15th, which includes a new map called The Ship or something like that.
That should be funny.
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. And apparently it's supposed to be new kill animations too, so...
Oh boy. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
After that, we got Best Multiplayer Game, and in the vein of Fall Guys, it went to Among Us. Or,
Yep.
or wait, sorry. It Not Fall Guys with the new map. It's Among Us that's getting a new map. Sorry. Wrong game.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, still.
So yeah, so Among Us is
Maybe
getting the
less
Starship.
funny and just more fun.
But Among Us with the Starship is getting new kill animations for it. I was wondering why that didn't make sense of what I said for Fall Guys.
Yeah.
Because you can't kill people in it, you can only bump them off.
Yeah, there's not really any killing going on. It's more like dying than killing.
It's more like suicide.
Yeah, it's more like, oh crap, I'm falling to my death, is basically all it is.
Speaking of falling to your death, in hell, best indie game went to Hades.
Yeah, there you go. That I agree with, because there wasn't a whole lot of great indie games this year.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me.
Best audio design. Now this I actually agree with. It goes to The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
So the best audio design, it should have gone to Last of Us Part 2, and it did. So that I actually agree with. The best RPG, there wasn't much that's eligible for Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, there was very few nominees to really discuss in that category.
For Jeff Keighley's Game Awards and the cutoff, the only thing that could have won it did, and it's Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
So the right game in this situation got that, in my opinion.
Yeah, just because nothing else rises to the level, unfortunately.
And Best Sim goes to Flight Simulator by Microsoft.
Which is absolutely deserved. It is the best sim maybe ever created.
Best fighting game is no surprise, Mortal Kombat 11.
Yep.
I don't recall any other combat games that I even heard about.
Again, another category where there's almost no competition. So.
And then we got our favorite guy who loves saying "fuck the Oscars," introducing his studio's new game called It Takes Two. So, and just like with the previous game of A Way Out, buy one copy, you can have a friend play it with you for free and have it for free as long as they're playing it with you online, or yeah, I think just online at this point.
Yep, which automatically puts the game in an interesting category.
Which means that if you have proper internet connection, if you buy it, I would play it with you.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's a really good idea. I'm glad somebody has finally, gone on to this idea. Like, they already know people are buying games for their friends to play with them.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see them innovating in a way where they say, look, if you buy a copy, you'll get a free copy for your friend to play with you.
And
that's really awesome.
And the weird thought with it is, just like with A Way Out, you can do the same thing. Buy one copy, play it for free with a friend online, just like with this game. But also like with A Way Out, It Takes Two is also published by Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
This is still out of character for them, but I'm glad they're still letting this studio continue to do that.
And wouldn't it be nice if some of the AAA studios would actually do that with their games?
It'd be nice if EA did that with Madden. One person buys a copy, and then you could play it online with, like, your brother for free.
Well, bro, it'd be nice if EA would actually make a game that's worth anything.
Or just make Madden free to play and just update the roster every fucking year.
Yeah, or that, yeah.
That would be fine, too, at this point, anyway. Speaking of innovation and accessibility, a game that, in my opinion, did not deserve it, Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. More travesty there.
It should go to fucking Dreams.
Yeah, how is The Last of Us Part 2 in any way innovative? Can someone please explain that to me? How is it in any way innovative?
It wasn't even innovative in how it divided the fan base, because you were second to do that behind Disney, Lucasfilm, and Star Wars.
Do they consider a game that makes the developer censor YouTubers for no reason innovation? Is that what innovation means? They've found a way to censor people in new and different ways?
I just thought of a way to innovate for this channel on this topic. Here's an innovation for Naughty Dog Muso TNT. Even though I have a copyright strike from Muso and Sony for Spider-Man, I'm going to say it anyway because fuck it. Fuck you!
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I mean, aside from making the most insulting game of all time to a fan base, that's the only innovation I see there.
Next up, after that travesty of a award for The Last of Us Part 2, we got something from Bethesda.
Yep.
Elder Scrolls Online expansion Gates of Oblivion.
Yep.
So,
which, of course, is red meat for fans of the series and the guys like us.
So now with Elder Scrolls Online, they're bankrupt, and now they're going, well, we haven't done Cyrodiil recently. Let's do Oblivion Gates. Well, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's like, do they realize that they can continue doing the series? They've done nothing of note about Elsewhere or Blackmarsh.
Now, granted, they do need to keep Elder Scrolls Online going. I'm not disputing that. But you could try to be a little innovative with where you go next. Like, oh, I don't know. Let's see. In Elder Scrolls Online, we've been to Morrowind, which we've been to in a mainline game. We've been to Elsewhere, which is good. That was new.
Yeah.
We've been to Skyrim. That was not innovative. We've been to, I think, High Rock, right?
Yeah, the High Elves, yeah.
No, that was the Somerset Isles.
Okay, anyway, yeah, I got confused, but anyway.
But we've been to the Somerset Isles for the High Elves. Have we been to High Rock with Elder Scrolls Online yet?
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that.
I do know that there's not much left you can do beyond High Rock and Hammerfell at this point, or Blackmarsh.
Yeah.
Because if those are the next three, you got to figure out something else to do with the Elder Scrolls Online, and God forbid, do not bring back Alduin into it, please, for fuck's sake. He's dead.
I can't imagine why they would try that, but...
Which means that at some point, you're going to have to make the decision of expanding it to, God forbid, the other continent on the planet.
Sure, yeah. Or either that, or making a unified story or something.
Or God forbid, go back to the homeland of where the Nords came from. What the hell was the name of it again?
I forgot.
It was up north of Skyrim, on the other side of the Sea of Ghosts. Fuck. Well, you guys can comment down below what the hell the name of the thing is, because we're having brain farts right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of good things, best mobile game went to Among Us. Should have won best multiplayer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Fall Guys getting best multiplayer is also a good choice too. So, because both were equally as popular when they exploded. So.
Yep.
But Among Us didn't come out this year.
Yeah, well, there you go, bro. That's the logic. That's the logic that's at play here.
If you want to give it a best mobile game, fine. But it should have an asterisk by it because it exploded this year, but it didn't come out this year, guys. Which is why in our award show, you're not going to see a lot Among Us anywhere.
In any given year, despite Pokemon Go could have been a candidate at that point.
Yeah, and here's the announcement of the airship for Among Us, the new map, and it's coming early 2021. How early in the year are you talking? Because I could see it in the first week of January being early 2021, guys.
Yeah.
If it's that close, you got to give a date.
Yeah, it's sort of customary, you'd think.
But considering they're not, for all we know, it could be fucking March that they're looking at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that almost indicates that it isn't soon.
Yeah. So early 2021. How early? First half? If that's the case, you might as well say fucking summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that, we got Content Creator of the Year with Valkyrie. Congratulations.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
that
I
was
can say here because
definitely one I wouldn't criticize too heavily either.
I'm not going to criticize her. I'm not going to criticize the choice. I'm only going to say I don't watch her content. I don't know who the hell she is. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't speak intelligently to it either.
So with that said, we're just going to move on.
Yeah.
To best game direction. Second biggest fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. Another one. Such a weird thing for it to just win all these random awards that don't make any sense.
The game that should have won was either Ghost of Tsushima or anything else.
Yeah, like flip a coin because there's plenty of candidates on that one.
Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. No.
Hell, even Bug Snacks.
Don't push it.
I'm just spitballing here.
In terms of direction, I'd probably go Last of Us 2 before Bug Snacks, but that's just me, I think. But just barely.
Well, if you like the direction of off the cliff and down the mountainside, that's a direction, I guess.
I'd rather get hit with a golf club than that.
Yeah.
And,
so they should give an award for wrong direction and then give it to Last of Us Part 2.
Well, this award show made us add a category, which I will briefly talk about when I announce them. The worst game of 2020, which we will award that in our version of an award show here on the channel come the first week of January when we actually film and get that up on the channel.
Yep.
And the reason I want to do it in January is because that's when 2020 is already over at that point. Guaranteed nothing's coming out that I'll be playing that came out that year. And I want guarantees of, all right, there's nothing new to talk about, nothing new to consider for Game Awards. We can film this thing now. Type of thing. Because we already effectively have most of the awards already official at this point behind the scenes. It's just I'm waiting to select one that I choose, and Chris has to pick the one that he picks as well. And beyond that, it will then be up to you guys to pick Game of the Year at that point. But like I said, I'm going to be filming that video in the next couple days and getting it up on the channel for you guys to have. Give or take like 3 or 4 weeks to get your comments in on what of those games is Game of the Year. So that way you guys have a long time to get your voices heard. Speaking of situations that I don't know if I have a bad feeling about or a good feeling about at this point, considering that Casey Hudson and basically another head from the studio has left BioWare. Knowing that now, Mass Effect got teased that it's continuing as a franchise.
After so much catastrophe.
Yeah. But
another one where fans of the series are like reverted back to the originals.
But
so like, how are they gonna pull this out of the ashes?
But I have questions based on that teaser trailer they gave us, because some people are claiming that they saw as the blue face as Liara. Other people are claiming that that was Tali'Zorah without the mask.
Yeah.
And all it said was Mass Effect will return as DLC for Andromeda that you promised at launch of the game and never did because you abandoned the fucking thing, like the Quarians.
Yeah, well, the problem with Andromeda was Andromeda.
But there was more that they could have done with it, though. But they just abandoned it altogether.
They could have fixed the damn thing.
Well, they fixed it to a degree and then left it forever.
Yeah.
To move on to Anthem, which they're redoing still.
Yep.
At least last I was aware. But still, the fact that it looked like it was talking or basically alluding to the original characters and whatnot, from what I could gather and what people were saying. If that's the case, is this a proper Mass Effect 4? Basically giving us, alright, life after the Reapers in the Milky Way galaxy? Because I am curious about that.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if they would just, like, talk past their mistakes at this point. If they're not gonna, like, admit they even made mistakes, then at least just, you know, give us something good and we'll shut up.
Is this a sequel to Andromeda involving the original characters making the trek from Milky Way to Andromeda? If that's the case, you're going to have to explain that too.
Yeah.
Which I would be interested in finding out how you're going to pull that off even. There's just so many questions, and I don't know when we're going to get any answers, or if we're going to get the answers to the questions that we're asking at this point.
Yeah.
Speaking of questions, Game of the Year. And it's the last thing to talk about. Last of Us Part 2, again.
Yeah, this was gonna be the ultimate travesty of the whole show.
Well, the whole show was a fucking travesty, really.
Well, no, I know, but it's this was like,
because
you know.
If you go back, and let me just go back to the Last of Us thing for a minute. Jeff Keighley made me feel like, one last thing, I'm like, this has got to be big, it's Mass Effect. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
That's the big last thing before the Game of the Year? Really? Mass Effect? Yeah. A broken, battered franchise.
Yeah.
There's so much you could have done with that last thing. You could have shown Elden Ring, which apparently is the most anticipated game. I would have loved to have seen shit about Elden Ring for the first time.
Or they could have actually introduced something we actually want to see.
You could have shown us the rebuild of Halo Infinite Xbox.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anthem 2.0.
Yeah.
To see what Anthem is actually going to properly be, hopefully, you know. Let's see. What else?
Well, we know, like I told you before, bro, some of us have died holding our breath over Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, fuck, I forgot. Starfield. Fuck.
Yeah, or that.
And secondly, when the teaser for Andromeda started, Angry Joe, me, and countless others had the reaction of, wait, is Bethesda really gonna finally show Starfield here? No, it's Mass Effect. Oh, for fuck's sake. Because I really thought it was gonna be Starfield. I'm like, finally, it's about fucking time, guys, because you teased it in 2018. 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, you know what that means. They're still kicking it around.
Which means that it probably ain't coming until 2022 at the soonest. Which means that Elder Scrolls 6 probably isn't coming till I'm over 40 fucking years old at this point.
Yes, we'll be skeletons sitting on the park bench before we get Elder Scrolls 6, apparently.
I feel like I'm going to be 50 by the time Elder Scrolls 6 is actually in the system and I've played through it.
Well, hey, if it follows the Cyberpunk, timeline, or worse, the Duke Nukem timeline.
I don't want to follow the Cyberpunk timeline because we're first of all, there's a lot to talk about that when it comes to the timeline development of that in the next video, which will be live Saturday.
Yeah, I just meant the length of time in development,
Yeah.
In between the initial announcement and the final release,
But
you shouldn't have a whole freaking generation of human beings go the way, the dinosaurs before you release the damn game.
But back to the woke game of the year.
Yeah. If
you guys have watched my 3-part review, which was not intended to be 3 parts. It was intended to be only one, but internet sucks. It was intended to be live the first 2 attempts. First time with Desert Nord. Lasted 6 minutes. I didn't realize it till after the fact. Then I tried to do it by myself because it was already like too late for him to be on the phone at that point. And then that went down too, so I went, fuck it, I'll pre-record it. Which is the opposite of Bill O'Reilly of, fuck it, we'll go live. Fuck it, I'll record it. And upload it.
Yeah.
So part 3 was that of me just going through the numbers, not really giving my opinion at that point, and just going, this game is average at best because it scored a 5 out of 10 overall. And I'm done. Peace out. Have a good night. Fuck Naughty Dog. And I was done.
Yeah, if you're, let's put it this way, if you're in no way familiar with the series, you didn't play part 1.
I played all the way through part 1 on the PS3. Loved it. Got about an hour into it, as in part 1 on the PS4, which now I don't even want to finish now after playing like almost half of number 2.
What I was going to say, bro, is if you're one of those people that didn't play part 1 whatsoever, is unfamiliar at all with any of the story plot points or any of the characters, and you also happen to be a Twitter SJW, then yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 is really an amazing, blow you away type of game.
Yeah.
But if you actually have played the part 1 and you actually know the characters and plot points, then this was the biggest middle finger in recent memory.
Yeah. So,
this was like I had said before in private. This was the last Jedi of video games.
Yeah. But it's not the worst game of the year, though.
Looks are the only thing it has going for it.
It's got looks. It's got decent to good gameplay, so it has that going for it. But in a series like The Last of Us, it is much hinged on the gameplay as the narrative.
Like if you end up having no respect for, or every character's dead and they've betrayed their previous plot, they've betrayed their previous self, and they become something you don't even like, or worse, they're so effed and destroyed as a character that you couldn't be brought to care anyway. How could it be classified as a good game? Like, isn't a game supposed to make you like its characters or at least relate to them? Nobody relates to these characters. Nobody in the real world, anyway.
Yeah.
And this storyline was written by people who have no concept of how writing works.
Naughty Dog used to have a concept of it when Amy Hennig was there, but those days are long dead and never coming back.
I mean, if they wrote a book like this, they would sell 3 copies, and one of them would be to their own mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But here they go, getting themselves, wrapped in a AAA game studio and a series that was beloved going into this. And here they are getting this meaningless Game of the Year award for a game that a lot of real gamers wouldn't wipe their ass with.
Yeah. So, with that said, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this year's Game Awards?
Probably a 6.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
So above average.
There were see, my average is 7, so this was below average.
I generally go based on the same as I use the rating system for games to rate basically everything. So average to me is a 5 to a 5.5.
I'm just saying that I grade on a curve, and the curve here is that the average is 7 for me. And so I would say this would be below average. If that means, for your sake, me saying it's a 4, then it's a 4.
So with that said, given that this is the Woke Game Awards of 2020, my rating for The Last of Us Part 2 Awards 2020 is a big fat 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's a hole-in-one courtesy of Abby.
Yeah, there's only small parts of the award show that were redeeming, but none of the new content they revealed was like amazing and even interesting in a lot of cases. I mean, only tiny little spots here and there were actually an enjoyable thing to watch. And then the grand travesty of giving The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year is just like the cherry on top of a shit sundae.
Yeah.
You know?
So
I mean, yeah, it's below average to me. And the only reason it's not a complete shit show is because at least some of the awards were properly given.
Yeah. So we talked about all the awards, all the games, and what awards we felt were given to the right games. Now, we're not going to go into what games we feel should have won each award specifically for the most part, because with some of the categories that we have in store for ours, some of them are the same. There are some that they didn't have that we do, though.
Yep.
And I will get into all of that when I do that video for you guys. Because that video will be all about announcing officially, completely, all the categories and the 5 nominees for Game of the Year that you guys are going to be voting for in the comment section of that video for Game of the Year, based on the games that we've nominated for Game of the Year. And keep in mind, it's based on the games that I've played. Now, based on games that came out, because I'm only one person, I can't play everything. Desert Nord currently doesn't have the ability to play stuff on his Xbox One currently. But when he does, he'll get the chance to play some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And Gucci largely only plays sports games, but I have had him playing Dreams recently, so we'll see what he thinks of that later on.
Yeah, I'm just a watcher at this point.
Yeah, so his opinion is based on what he's watched and what he views as good based on watching other people's play of stuff.
Yep.
What you will hear from me is based on first-hand experience of playing this stuff.
Yep.
And
well, of course, you'll have the viewers know that I am a longtime gamer.
Yes.
So
with that said, I think we're gonna end this show this week based just talking about our history with gaming, so new people here get a better understanding of where you and I came from as gamers. I first started playing video games on the Atari 2600 with our uncle, that being our mom's younger brother, when I was 3 years old. So at the age of 36, I've been playing games basically on and off, mostly on in the later years, for over 33 years now. That's a long fucking time. And I've seen a lot.
And for me, the number on that is about 25. I've had a near constant relationship with gaming in some form for the whole time, without cease. I've always played something, whether it be mobile or whether it be console, or whether it be online something. And I've always played some kind of game somewhere.
And the first
for
console
about 25 years now.
The first console you ever had any interaction with was the regular Nintendo at Cousin Lisa's house, wasn't it?
Well, I actually got to play that one, ironically, after getting to play the Super NES that Dad had bought for us.
I thought we lived in Illinois. No,
you might have gotten a chance to play their console, but I was a bit too young for them to let me play it.
Probably, but I do know that you did play it at one point. We've also, so for example, the consoles that I've all played on was, in order from what I can remember, Atari 2600, regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo when Dad bought one for us. Then after that, I think next was playing PlayStation 1 at Cousin Lisa's house once that was out, because Uncle Vince and Aunt Dory bought one for her. Then we got an N64 after that.
Yep. We also had a Sega.
Yeah, we had a Sega Genesis. Well, before we got to PlayStation 1 at our cousin's house, and then I bought my first console that I've ever bought my entire life was the Nintendo GameCube that I purchased because that's when I started working for the first time.
We also had Game Boy Colors.
Which I did buy those too as well.
Yep.
But first I bought the GameCube, then I bought Game Boy Colors probably right after that, give or take.
Yep.
But this was all back when I was in high school too, so when it comes to the GameCube, that is. Then after that, I jumped to PlayStation at that point on the PS2. And you stayed.
We had all three at one point. We had all three systems.
Yeah.
And handhelds too.
And where's the controller for it? Here it is. Right here, I still have my original Xbox sitting right here, guys.
Yep.
The very same one I bought brand new at the time. That son of a bitch is still right here. Still runs, not like new, but damn close. The only issue with it is occasionally the disk drive sticks, and that usually only happens when there isn't a disk in the disk drive, and you have to tap the top of it to get it to pop open. That's the only issue. It reads everything perfectly like it's still brand new.
Yep.
Still runs like a dream after all these years. Which is funny because the Xbox 360 had the rendering of death. I don't recall any issues of the original Xbox.
Yeah, well, you know why that is, bro. That's because Microsoft put regular computer tower tech into it.
Yeah, and then they tried to improve on it and fucked up.
Yeah.
And then they tried to improve on that further, and nobody liked it in the Xbox One at first.
Yeah, because they went from starting out as a PC essentially system,
yeah,
and they tried to work backwards towards gaming console, and it's only made things, dicey.
Which I will add something about Cyberpunk when we do that video next. So
yeah,
because I have something to add about Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about on that, but yeah, we've had essentially every console that's come out, or at least you have for sure.
Well, every major company console from Atari to Sega to Nintendo to Xbox to PlayStation. Never touched the Commodore because first of all I was too young and my parents only knew of a Commodore as like a bird, or a band.
Yeah.
The Commodores.
But you had a PSP and
yes, I had that
of course
too.
You have a Switch now.
Yes, I have a Switch. I had a launch model Xbox One. I sent that to you because reasons.
Yeah.
And the reason being, I got a 4K TV. I went and got an Xbox One X to take advantage of my 4K TV. Got a PS4 Pro instead of a PS5 because I'm an idiot. Because I did that instead, I wasn't comfortable with getting a PS5 at the time. Wish I kept the pre-order now of the PS5, and then I would have had one at this point.
Yep.
But what's done is done, and I can't undo it. Real life is permadeath, and that's all there is to it. There is no saving.
Yep.
There is no going back. Once a decision is made, you're stuck with it.
Yeah. So the main point you were making here, bro, is that both me and you have a long history with, gaming directly.
Yeah. And the inspiration.
And that is much more thick for you recently than me, but
yeah. But still. But I'm trying to get you back to it so you can have more first-hand opinion of this stuff on the channel.
And it'd be nice to have my own proclivities, exercised a little more often.
And with that said, I will finish with this. The inspiration for the creation of this channel back in 2014 at the time. It was due to the cancellation of X-Play and G4, and inspired by videos that I was watching on YouTube from Angry Joe at the time. So, This channel was inspired by G4 and X-Play and Angry Joe. Since then, I have strayed from watching Angry Joe at times. Gucci still loves him though, but I still watch him from time to time just to get his opinion, even if I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, which I do.
Yeah, the simple fact, bro, is that it's incredibly important that the industry have a direct pipeline to its customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to our opinions of their products.
And that's why I do this, to try to basically try to get my opinion out there, regardless of what it is, regardless if you guys agree. If you agree, great. If not, tell me, and I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, the console companies and the developers need to hear how real gamers feel about these things.
Yeah.
You know, because if all they hear is they're paid for opinion people writing fluff pieces all the time and hyping up their products just so they can sell more, they're never going to get a real opinion from people. They're only going to get their own paid for, you know, propaganda, basically.
Exactly.
So it's important for real gamers who actually have a long history of this type of thing to set it straight and say, look, here's the quality of your game. I don't care what everybody else is saying, all that noise. Here's what it is. This is how we feel. This is who we are. And, you know, pay attention to it if you want, but ignore it if you want also.
Yeah.
You know.
So with that being said, I have nothing else to say. After we go off the air from this video, or not really off the air, and this podcast, and right away we're going to get to recording the next episode of Is It Worth It, episode 5, and it being about Cyberpunk 2077, which will be live on the channel Saturday morning at 10 a.m. as usual time for Is It Worth It. Only this time, it's going to be a bit longer because Desert Nord is going to be on his first episode of Is It Worth It?
Yeah.
So with that being said, after we film that, what are you going to be up to?
Well, as usual, I have more to do in my apps that I don't really play. And I was actually going to try and catch some of the streams they were putting up of gameplay of Cyberpunk. I know there's so many at this point. It's kind of hard to follow all of them. But there's a lot to pick from, and there's so many details. There's so many different ways that you can play around in the game. There's the storyline, of course, but there's also all the side stuff that a lot of streamers aren't focusing on, you know?
Yeah.
So, and there's, of course, a lot to be said for the game at this point. Yeah. But it's kind of the big thing right now, so.
After we get done filming Is It Worth It? We'll see what time it is at that point. It's currently a little after 2 o'clock. It's like 2:08 here, so we'll see what time it is after we get done filming that. Chances are I'll probably go back to watching Az and his opinion on something about Cyberpunk that I was going to start watching before we started this.
Yep.
And that being Heel vs. Babyface on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to his channel, go check him out. As well as...
That other stuff is wonderful.
Especially his 4-hour play of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I watched that. It was pretty awesome.
I remember at one point yelling at the TV going, "Open your journal, dumb fuck."
As was a little dense at times with his playthrough, but it's funny.
A little?
Yeah, just a little.
But mostly, on top of getting run over by a car, he was reacting to
you remember he was picking up dildos, right?
Yes, he was going, "God damn it, a black one."
Yeah, he had like it was like 2 hours in, he had like 13 dildos on him. It was funny.
Well, apparently Az is into dildos.
Yeah, it's almost like he was a street salesman at that point.
But I will get into my experience on Is It Worth It with Cyberpunk, and I got a story for you guys. So with that said, we will see you guys next time you will hear and see both of us on Is It Worth It about Cyberpunk. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Next week, it will be the usual type of thing, news and headlines, hopefully at that point. But we'll see what we got. If there's nothing, we might just take a week off, who knows. But with that, with that said, I'm Drew, he's Desert Nord, my younger brother.
Yep.
And we will see, you will see us Saturday, because this will be live Thursday morning. You'll see us Saturday morning for Cyberpunk discussion. Not necessarily a review, but a going over is it worth it and the experience of playing through it. And I will say up front, I've played through the main story once already. I'm going to try not to spoil too much, but I will warn you here and now, as I will at the top of that video. Spoiler warning will be in effect just in case. Because even I don't know what I'm going to talk about, because it's going to be completely unscripted. There's no outline, no nothing. We're just talking about Cyberpunk in that. With that said, see you guys in the next one. Take care, and please stop picking up dildos, man. Bye, guys.